Hey, so listen, I just so I attended this summit today. It was called Silence the Shame, and it was a suicide awareness summit. Y'all, oh, it was so good. And it was geared towards I'm trying to find it so I can breaking the silence and healing the mind, but it was for men. It was for men. It was like bringing awareness on how this subject and this topic of suicide and how it affects our men. And it was enlightening, it was eye-opening, and I don't know, it made me think about how neglected our men, I guess, as far as emotional health, how neglected it can be on our men, right? I'm sure all men, but I want to kind of talk about African American men, Black men, right? And so it was just so enlightening. I'm going to put a snippet of, because I had recorded like the panel discussion. I had recorded that, so I'm going to add that onto this video. It's only a snippet, y'all. It was so much meat to eat in this summit. It was so much to learn and to take in. So I didn't record the entire thing. Number one, my arms got tired. So but I did record a snippet of it. And again, the organization is called Silence the Shame, and I guess they do this every year. This is my first year attending, and it was just awesome. It was very eye-opening, very enlightening, and I just want to take out a minute, some time to say, to our men, especially our Black men, is that I'm sorry, that there's not much space given to you all to feel free and safe to express your emotions and how you feel. And as a Black woman, I just want to say I'm sorry for, whatever contribution that I added to you not feeling safe to express how you feel. And adding to your pressure, adding to your stress, adding to the stigma, adding to that incorrect stigma or that incorrect notion that your value is attached to what you can do for a woman or for a person, right? Your value is attached to your ability to provide. Your value is attached to your ability to take care of your home and to take care. Just want to say I'm sorry, and so there's a lot of highlights that took place in this summit. Some of the questions that, some of the things that they brought up, the panel discussions, the panel of men that they brought up, one of the questions, or one of the statements that was made was that men are not often asked how they feel. Like, how are you feeling? And so it was like, of course the question would be, man, you good? How are you? Good? You good? You doing okay? You good? But specifically asking, man, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling? Right? And so, and I had to think about that. I'm like, I don't think I've asked my son that, my dad, even my ex-husband. I don't think I've asked them. I don't think that question ever came up, right? I don't think emotionally I took I would put myself in a place of understanding or trying to understand how they feel emotionally. It was always, I don't know, this so much work that needs to be done in our community, but this was a very good summit. I enjoyed it. The topic was very powerful. Again, I'm going to put the snippet of the panel discussion at the end of this video, so you all can kind of get a taste of what it was or what happened. And then maybe next year you can attend it, because it was amazing. It wasn't just for clinicians. It was for just anyone, right, that wants more information. I guess to build the awareness of suicide, right? Build the awareness of some suicide preventions, and like it was an awesome summit. So just wanted to get on here, and just because it made me think. It really made me think about some things, and the realization that men, they think so differently from us women. Like their minds, their thought process, their mind is just wired differently, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that we need to be more patient, and understand that they don't communicate the way that we communicate, women. That was another topic or another statement that was made by one of the male panelists, is that we don't communicate like you women do, right? And it's not a bad thing, but it is our responsibility as women to be patient, to learn your process, right? Because it's not always you all having to learn our process and you all learning and leaning towards the way that we do this. That's not what it's about, right? It is a two-way street. It's not one-sided, where the man emotional needs are being completely neglected and the woman emotional needs are completely being poured into. You got to change that, because that's not fair. They're human. They're human. We have to change that. It was another question or another statement that was made that was like, oh, wow, that's powerful. And I can't even remember what it was. I think I wrote it down in my notes, but I don't want to go into that right now. But yeah, it was a powerful summit. I truly enjoyed it. Truly enjoyed it. An awesome way to spend my Saturday. I am a lifelong student, so I enjoy learning new things. I like conferences and summits and stuff such as that. I enjoy it. I like it. I really do. So, anywho, I'm going to get back. You all be blessed. Have a good day. That was just, I feel full from the summit because a lot of good stuff was said. So, all right. Be blessed. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
As my young king was saying, sharing my story of surviving 2 suicide attempts after leaving football. It's something that we don't talk about in the black community because it's something that we thought was a white folks issue. That I grew up in the South, and when you would hear someone took their life, and you say, oh, only white people do that. But now all of a sudden it's become a human issue. And as I've said, that I don't think that people are ending their life, particularly and black males are ending their life because they don't want to live. I think brothers are ending their life because they're exhausted from performing.
Yeah.
Just let that sit for a while.
Yeah.
And if you look around and look in the eyes of the men, you can see that they're resonating with this message because it's exhausting to perform. And what I've encouraged brothers to do, rather than focus on performing, focus on producing what comes out of you. And so it's been a blessing. I wrote a book a few years ago after George Floyd titled Just Heal Bro. We turned it into a tour. We've done 20 cities in the past 2 years, and we have 5 cities left on the tour. I told my manager I gave you a 2-year commitment. So I said, what I will do is pass it on to somebody. Hopefully Willie Moore come on and say, hey, I'll take it over. You have it, good brother. So we created it, but it's been a blessing. We average 300 to 500 men in these places, and it's been very cathartic to watch brothers who never had the opportunity to share what they feel. And ladies, can I just say this? For some of you have sons, nephews, even husbands. We're not privy to what you have been given at a very early age, and that is the language to communicate. You're asking him how he feels, and he doesn't have the vocabulary. Without the vocabulary, you don't have the language. So he doesn't know how to tell you how he feels. So his quietness is not that he's disconnected. His quietness is that he's not able to identify with what that is. When I was in private practice, most of the brothers that came in there, when I did the Breakfast Club interview, I had to take a week off from work because the office was inundated with calls from black men. I had 200 black men in my DM that was crying, literally brothers that had held down their voice memo and said, bro, thank you. Then the offices, Jay, we don't even, because only one person. And in Dallas, I was the only black male therapist that was in our age range. So, and we had a 6-month waiting list. And there was only 3 black male therapists in the region. And the 2 other therapists were 50 and over, but they were not guys that could speak to us 3. So there was no connection. And so I said, God, how do we meet this need? And to be honest, it's challenging because there's no solution right now currently for the demand. So for the brothers that are in here in this space, I want you guys to, I appreciate you guys coming out because brothers don't come to things like this. Look around, And I want to encourage you, brothers, that you deserve to discover more about yourself than what you've been taught about yourself.
You know, it's so unique that everybody has their specific stories on why they're here today. You know, when I first met Shanti, I said, you know, our family is struggling through suicide right now because my 16-year-old cousin took his life. And to see somebody so bold about her convictions and how much she wanted to help people, I said, man, listen, if my schedule is ever available, I'm going to always serve this cause. You know, the one thing that I know is that, as you talked about, man, me and we suffer in silence. You know, a lot of times people don't even know, like, what we're going through because, as you said, we don't necessarily have the words. So, Marquise, I want to talk to you a little bit about this generation as you get an opportunity to get a bird's eye view of what they encounter, what they go through. Can you talk a little bit about some of the behavior traits that you notice that are extremely toxic, and how a parent can speak to their teenage child as they see the small idiosyncrasies that are starting to come to life, whether that's aggressive behavior, whether that's you in a private school but you still playing like you tough. I'm like, you got a playroom, sir. You not from the hood. Let's get that together. So just talk to that toxic masculinity that's starting to grow in this next generation.
I would say for me, when it comes to that conversation, there's a gap right now between the youth and the older generation. And one thing I see a lot, even with, you know, parents who come and talk to me about, you know, whether it's their son or their nephew, like, and they talk to me about, you know, some of the challenges that they're having with them. One thing that I see a lot of is there's a lack of communication because the parent or, you know, the mentor may not be open to listen to it right now, just because they may not understand it. And I think right now there's a lot of disconnect because the older generation is looking at the younger generation like, man, what are y'all doing? We was never allowed to do this when we was y'all age. And the younger generation is looking at the older generation and saying, well, y'all don't understand us at all. And I think there just needs to be more, a better, what's the word for it? Just more open communication between the older generation and the younger generation, just to hear each other out, to meet each other where we're at. I think that's what I'm trying to get to. Like, I feel like there's so many kids that are willing to listen, but they're only going to listen to somebody they feel truly cares about them and wants to hear what they have to say, wants to understand certain things they go through. Sure. And if they don't feel that, then of course they won't open up and communicate with you on how they feel, certain things that they're going through, because they feel like, well, you may just judge me. Yeah. And no kid wants to be judged. So I think, you know, there's just a disconnection, you know, between the older generation and the younger generation, just with that lack of communication. But once we can meet each other where we're at and let go of the judgment and let go of, you know, even certain things that we may have been taught that may not have been right, you know, that we may have learned from people that were older than us at the time, I think there'll be a lot more, a better relationship between the older generation and the younger generation.
Indeed. So, you know, kind of what I'm thinking, what I think I hear you saying is more so we have to come with a common ground, right? So how many parents I got in the house? Just let me see your hand real quick. Grandparents, parents, just let me see your hand real quick. Good. Make some noise if you like, man, I need just a little bit of help. If you can be honest, just say yes. Let me say yes. I need a little help. You put the Holy Ghost hand up. She said, shut up. You know, right? So being a father of boys, my oldest is 20 years old. He's at the University of Mississippi. We come from, you know, it's a blended family. My other son, he's 15 years old, just turned 15. My youngest son is 8 years old, and my daughter, she's 4 years old. As y'all can see, I got a nice little gap right there. I'm gonna be raising kids for the rest of my life. Pray for me, okay? And y'all keep listening to these shows and all that good stuff, because I need them a job. You hear me? But what I learned is that when I look at the word communication, it derives from a Latin word that's, I don't know how to use my Latin tongue, but it's really communicare, which simply means a common ground, right? And so when I look at my 20-year-old, who's now at the University of Mississippi, I went to the University of Mississippi, I often ask myself, what is the common ground for this young man? And I realize I'm no longer his hovering parent, I'm more so a coach. And he's watching my every move. He called me the other day and said, Dad, man, I'm about to start counseling. Now, the thing is, I've been in therapy for the last 5 years. I've been counseling, like therapist counseling, anything that I can get involved in, and I was openly sharing. So just having a common ground of my vulnerability with my 20-year-old was just a seed that was planted when he was 17, and now at 20, he's seen that I can pray all day and be at the altar and things can still be going wrong, but I seen my dad go to therapy. So he embarked upon that himself. So here's the thing, a lot of times to my Christian people and my people who are praying people, you can pray but you can't say. A lot of times you get involved with some of the things that you need to do this and you need to do that. The common ground now is I'm your coach, I'm going to step back a little bit because children come from God, they just come through parents, right? That I get an opportunity to coach from a distance, come with a common ground. My 8-year-old, I attempt to have a common ground with him. He loves YouTube. Guess who on YouTube? That's the perfect place to have a conversation. While we watching YouTube. Since we're on YouTube, man, let's kind of check out something that got to do with some different behaviors. So what I'm challenging parents to do, just in this particular moment as we look at this next generation, they're going to lead us. They're going to lead us. They're going to lead us. So how can we serve the seed of leadership? By creating a common ground of communication with them to lift them up and not bash everything that we see. All right? And I thank God for you, man, because you're definitely doing a great job with this next generation. You know, Dr. J, I want to talk to you a little bit. How can we create, like, some safe spaces? Because what I heard you say is when you were on the Breakfast Club, they got an opportunity to see a version of a black man that they always wanted to see. And it felt safe. Because it's hard to get a man to call his wife, his girlfriend, and even his kids sometimes. But they were calling your office, which means they felt safe. You said that there were other African American men in Dallas, but they were a little older and they could not speak to this. That means you've now curated a conversation and a space where African American men and men in general feel safe. How can we create that type of opportunity in homes, schools, work environments? How can we create safe spaces?
So I want to, before I answer that question, I want to go back to what we were talking about between the older and the young generation. So here's the challenge. And for my parents, it's hard to hear when you was never heard.
True.
How can I give my child something that I've always wanted? So when I need to be hearing them, I'm defenseless. I become defensive. When he or she is saying, you don't understand where I'm at, and here's what is happening. Parents are wrestling with, how do I give you what I've never had? And this is something that I had to reconcile with my father, because once you begin to heal, brothers, there's a level of grace that you're able to extend toward that mother or father or that aunt or uncle that did you wrong or when you experienced that place of trauma. Because here's what I saw. My father should have been what I needed, but he wasn't. But how can he be a father when he's still longing to be a son?
Come on, man. I need a Zelle or something. What's up, bro? Good to see you. I see the church face in the back. He said, you didn't want to do it. You was looking too pretty, but you felt it in your shadow now, right? Come on. Say that one more time, Doc, real quick, because I just feel like it's a story. It needs to go viral.
How can he be a father when he's still longing to be a son? How can she be a mother when she's still longing to be a daughter? And what is happening with your generation, and this is why I love that generation, because here's the dynamic. Our generation, we didn't know what we were feeling, but we knew how to manage. They know what they're feeling, but they don't know how to manage. So when you guys feel, it's permanent. So we were raised that, shut up, be quiet. So you learn how to conceal. Your generation, we're going to talk about it. And we're going to put it all on social media, right? We're going to divulge everything here, but then there's the inability to not know how to manage, which is why suicide is climbing in your generation, because I'm feeling this in this moment, and this moment is as real as it gets, and not understanding that it will soon pass. So we are stuck in a generation that we're both fighting for the same thing, because healing cannot start until you feel heard. It's what happens when people come in therapy. They clinicians that I mentor, and I said, listen, if this client, I don't care how skilled you are, as Bishop J said, I don't care if you got more degrees than a thermometer, they're not going to hear you. People have to feel heard. And parents, here's what you can do in that moment that a child may seem distance from your teaching is how can I create a space for the both of us to heal?
Because can you start right there? How do we do that? Like, how do we create a safe space in the home where you both can heal?
Here's how you create space to heal. Through transparency and vulnerability. Most of us didn't see our parents to be humans until we became adults. That you had to become an adult to see who mom and dad really was. And not that you judged them by it, but you were now looking at them through the eyes, not as a mother or as a father, but you now were assessing as a man or as a woman. Because I'm not assessing my mom now as my mom. I'm looking at her as a woman because I now am a woman. I now am a man. So to hold in that space, here's what I had to do for my mother because my dad pastor. So I was, church and
see, I knew it was something in you that kind of felt like all things were missing when you put your legs like this and going like this right here. I know it's a pastor now. Give it to me, doctor.
So I watched people Sunday after Sunday go to the altar, and I never forget I wrote this paper. I did a very profound paper on characters of the Bible. I took 10 characters of the Bible, and I lined up what was happening in their lives in the Bible, and I matched up to the DSM to what their disorders and what their dysfunctions were.
Wow.
And it blew them away, and I said, and my professor said, why are you doing this? Because I said, I watched people go to the altar Sunday after Sunday, and were still fighting for their life Monday through Saturday. Because deliverance can be instant, but healing is a process.
Yes.
And here's a short story, really quick. Here's how this got started with my mother. I was a kid, bro, and there was this lady, Miss Hattie, told the story several times. She was at the altar every Sunday. My mom was Assemblies of God, and my father was a Baptist pastor. So in the South, we was first and third Sunday, and when they wasn't second and fourth, I was with my mom. Sister Maddie was at the altar, sometimes at the altar by herself. And I overheard my mom, she has 12 sisters, and 13 women sitting around.
They tell me.
They're not commiserated by anything positive, they're gospel. So let's call it what it is. They're definitely not, they're interceding. So I overheard them talk about Sister Maddie having this sex tape as a kid. And I was a very precocious kid. And I said, sex tape. So, and they was like, this is why she was at the altar, because Sister Maddie had a bunch of men in and out of her house. So as I got older, I came back to my mom and I said, Mom, did anybody ever think to ask Sister Maddie what happened? She said, no, but we all know what happened. Sister Maddie was molested. When she was molested, to understand your psychological makeup, when you experience any type of traumatic or anything that shouldn't happen in her